Welcome to the unit Sourcing and Vendor Management. In this unit, you will understand the significance of sourcing and the importance of managing vendors. This unit comprises of two modules and a final review section that invites you to reflect on what you have learned. By the end of this unit, students will be able to understand the significance of buying function, understand various buying responsibilities and sourcing hubs, outline the vendor selection process, outline the vendor evaluation process, describe the importance of vendor development. The first module gives an overview of sourcing. Sourcing is the term used to describe the process of determining how and where merchandise will be procured. The different sources are manufacturers, wholesalers, middleman, drop shipper, broker, contractor and cooperatives. Manufacturers offer goods for sale that they have produced. They are also referred to as vendors, suppliers or resources. Wholesalers are the resellers of the merchandise. They buy merchandise in large quantities and to break down they sell the goods in smaller quantities. The middleman is an agent who processes goods in one way or the other from manufacturer to the retailer. A drop shipper takes the title to the merchandise but does not take actual possession of the goods and just arranges shipment of the goods to the retailer. A broker is a middleman who helps negotiate business between the buyer and seller. A contractor is an independent producer who performs specific aspects of manufacturing such as sewing, cutting and finishing. An exclusive contractor is a supplier that only works for a particular company. When a group of manufacturers or contractors work together for a company, it is called a cooperative. Domestic sourcing is the purchasing of merchandise within the borders of the country. Sourcing has a number of advantages. It makes available a faster lead time. Lead time refers to the amount of time that lapses between the placement of an order and the arrival of the merchandise at the retail establishment. Further, sourcing ensures more assurance of getting exactly what was ordered. The main disadvantages are the cost of goods in apparel often higher due to higher labor cost. Close proximity to the source does not exist always. International sourcing is the process of buying goods offshore from the countries. Buying merchandise offshore and bringing it in another country to sell refers to importing or purchasing imports. After deciding on the amount and type of inventory to be purchased, the retailer must determine the best possible vendor to supply these items and negotiate the best deal possible with that vendor. Unless the retailer owns a manufacturing and or wholesale operation, the retailer must consider many criteria when choosing a supplier. When selecting a merchandise source, the retailer must consider the selling history, consumers' perception of the manufacturer's reputation, reliability of delivery, trade terms, projected markup, after sale service, transportation center processing time, inventory carrying cost, country of origin, fashionability and net cost. Retailers that use private label brands have found that private branding increases as the perceived consequences of making a buying mistake decreases. Private branding also increases when different brands in the category are perceived to vary more in their quality, and decreases if the category benefits are deemed to require actual trial or experience instead of being able to assess through search of package label information. Retailers should always enter the market with two pieces of information concerning the current vendors. First is the vendor profitability analysis statement. This lists the retailer's purchases within the past 1 year and the discounts granted by the vendor, the transportation charges paid, original markup, markdowns, and the season ending gross margin on each of the vendor's products. Second is the confidential vendor analysis. This is not only lists the same information as the vendor profitability analysis statement, but also provides a 3-year financial summary and the names, titles, and negotiating points of all vendors' sales staff. Based on the information obtained in these two reports, some retailers classify vendors into 5 categories: Class A vendors, Class B vendors, Class C vendors, Class D vendors, and Class E vendors. Class A vendors and the retailer work together as partners. These are the vendors from which the retailer purchases large and profitable amounts of merchandise. Class B vendors are the vendors that generate satisfactory sales and profits for the retailer. Class C vendors are the vendors who carry outstanding lines but do not currently sell to the retailer. Class D vendors are the vendors from whom the retailer purchases small quantities of goods on an irregular basis. Class E vendors. These are the vendors with whom retailer had an unfavorable experience. After selecting the vendors, the retailer should select specific merchandise to be purchased after considering the following key questions. Where does this product fit into the strategic position that I have asked out for my department within my firm? Will I have an exclusive agreement with this product? What is the estimated demand for this product in my target market? What is my anticipated gross margin for the product? Will I be able to get reliable, speedy replacement stock? Can this product stand on its own, or is it a me too item? What is my expected turnover rate with this product? Does this product complement rest of my inventory? The climax of a successful buying plan is the active negotiation with suppliers. The effectiveness of the buyer-vendor relationship depends on the negotiation skills of the buyer and the economic power of the firms involved. The retail buyer must negotiate prices, freight, delivery dates, method of shipping and shipping costs, exclusivity, guaranteed sales, markdown money, promotional allowances, return privileges and discounts. The smart buyer will discuss everything, leaving nothing to chance. Price is probably the first factor to be negotiated. The retailer should always be aware of the following 5 types of available discounts: trade discount, quantity discount, promotional discounts, seasonal discounts and cash discounts. Trade discounts are a form of compensation which the buyer may receive from performing certain services for the manufacturer. Quantity discounts are price reductions offered as an inducement to purchase large quantities of merchandise. There are three types of quantity discounts: non-cumulative based on a single purchase, cumulative based on a total amount purchased over a period of time, free merchandise, merchandise is offered in lieu of price concessions. Promotional discounts are given when the retailer performs an advertising or promotional service for the manufacturer. Seasonal discounts can be earned by the retailers if they purchase and take delivery of goods in off seasons. Cash discounts are earned by retailers for prompt payment of their bills. There are several types of cash discounts including end of month dating, middle of month dating, receipt of goods and extra dating. End of month dating allows for the cash discount and full payment period to begin on the first day of the following month instead of the invoice date. Middle of the month dating is similar to EOM except that the middle of the month is used as the starting date. Receipt of goods ROG dating sets starting date as the date the goods are received by the retailer. Extra dating merely allows the retailer some extra or free days before the period of payment begins. Anticipation allows a retailer to pay the invoice in advance of expiration of the cash disc period and earn an extra discount. Delivery terms are also important to negotiate because they specify where the title to the merchandise passes to the retailer, whether the vendor or buyer will pay for the freight charges, and who is obliged to file any damage claims. The three most shipping terms are in free on board factory, free on board shipping point and free on board destination. Free on board factory, the buyer assumes the title at the factory and pays all transportation costs from the vendor's factory. In free on board shipping point, the vendor pays the transportation to a local shipping point, but the buyer assumes the title there and pays all further transportation costs. In free on board destination, the seller pays all the freight and buyer takes the title upon delivery. Retailers need to have some means of handling incoming merchandise, including merchandise handling and receiving space. Several types of theft occur and most can be controlled. Vendor collusion includes losses that occur when the merchandise is delivered. Such losses typically involve the delivery of less merchandise than is charged for, the removal of good merchandise disguised as old or stale merchandise, and the theft of other merchandise from the stock room or the selling floor while making delivery. Employee theft occurs when employees believe that free merchandise is part of their pay. Although some of the stolen goods come from selling floor, a larger percentage is taken from the stock room to the employee lounge and lockers, where it is kept until employees leave with it at quitting time. As many as 30% of American workers admit to stealing from their employers, even if that is only a small items like a pen or a pencil. Employee theft, which amounts to over $800 per apprehension, is most prevalent in food stores, department stores and discount stores. Customer theft is also a problem. In fact, over a dozen shoppers are caught for every case of employee theft, although the average amount of merchandise recovered is under $50. Stealing merchandise from the stock room and receiving area may be easier than taking it out from selling floor for several reasons. Much of the stock room merchandise is not ticketed, so it is easier to get it through electronic anti-shoplifting devices. Once the thief enters the stock area, there is a very little anti-theft security. Most security guards watch the exits and fitting rooms. There is usually an exit in the immediate area of stock room through which the thief can carry out the stolen goods. Now let us move on to learn about how effectively manage vendors. The most basic role of a buyer is to seek, evaluate, select, cultivate and develop resources from which suitable stock and information can be secured for the benefit of the store. The basic responsibility of the buyer is to obtain right goods from right manufacturers for the customer. Following the birth of ready-to-wear merchandise in 1920, fashion became major volume producer of numerous retail organizations. In short, fashion merchandising became a specialization. Two developments that occurred in the market are significant in how and where resources are selected. They are foreign markets and regional markets. After the Second World War, retailers have dramatically increased the purchase of foreign produced merchandise. In the past decade, several regional markets have been constructed in strategically located cities. The criteria for resource selection are directly related to the type of organization and its segmented customer group, potential customer. One important question to consider while selecting the resources is how many resources are necessary to achieve merchandising goals. Here, two resources selecting extremes are to concentrate on as few resources as possible and spread commitments on the basis of profit opportunity or broadened stock assortments. Supplier of fashion goods can be grouped in three major categories: manufacturers, wholesalers or jobbers, importers. Manufacturers are the most important supplier of fashion goods. They make or contract for goods. Even contractors come under this category. Wholesalers or jobbers buy large quantities from manufacturers and resell them to smaller stores, visit markets infrequently or not at all, mostly mom and pop stores. Mom and pop outlets are generally small stores operated by husband and wife with limited capital in a restricted selling area and are very much dependent on wholesaler and or distributor for financial support. Sometimes wholesaler offer to buy closeout or promotional goods. They buy at the end of season on discount mixed colors and sizes. Importers buy goods that are made overseas. Merchandised produced in foreign countries and then delivered to their country. Domestic merchandise is obtained by visiting the market. When and how they visit the market depends on size of the department, speed at which the market develops new styles, lead time a market requires for delivery, and distance of the store from the market. Large store, high inventory level, more tips. Development of new styles means more trips. Timing of market visits for sourcing are also dependent on price of the merchandise. The highest priced goods are developed first and moderate garments later and popular priced at the end. Store buyers are not market specialists and cannot be in market on constant basis. So they have resident buying houses as their eyes and ears. However, the open to buy function only lies in the hands of retail buyer. The buying house buyer can only buy with permission of the retail store buyer. Orders are sent by store buyers in many forms. These include open order, specific order, distribution order and sample order. In an open order, there is a limited detailing. For example, there is an open order to buy 25 coats at a retail price of $50 in best colors. Here, the resource is discretionary and the buying house representative exercises judgment. In a specific order, all details such as manufacturer, styles, color and sizes are listed. A distribution order is sent by the buying house resident buyer to selected stores, where they feel that merchandise represents market newness. If a store buyer feels it has place in the stock and he has an open to buy for it, a confirmation is sent for placement with manufacturer. Sample order. This depends on the relation between the store buyer and resident buying house representative. If the store buyer has confidence in the resident buyer, limited discretion is given, so that if anything new is in the market that deserves representation, then an order of modest size can be placed without specific approval. Example, an open order of 6 pieces of any selected style on weekly basis. Majority of fashion firms have representatives who are largely commission sale agents who visit stores to obtain orders. They establish a good relationship with the buyers and are able to offer advice about styles and trends too. Many countries have marts or regional apparel markets and market weeks which attract many buyers and apparel manufacturers as common meeting ground. Apparel marts become cities when buyers can select resources in an environment that contains theaters, restaurants, basic medical facilities and living quarters, etc. Orders can be confirmed by telephone or emails. The easiest way to secure foreign merchandise is to buy from the importer who stocks the goods. The main advantage of this are limited transportation costs, shorter delivery terms and responsibility for goods. The disadvantages are same merchandise is available to other stores and additional markup cannot be obtained. So, resident buying offices are very important due to importance of foreign merchandise. The advantage of buying from foreign market are prices can be cheaper, making promotionally priced goods available. Certain products are not available in the countries like the US. So, they get a wide variety of art, crafts, techniques and machine know-how. Exclusivity of styling based on specification merchandising offers a store improved markup potential. Certain foreign merchandise has status meaning. Opportunity to store to offer a wide variety of merchandise. There are also certain objections to foreign markets. They are extended trips means extended absence of buyer from the store. Costly venture living, traveling in another country. Commitments are for long periods. Reorders may not be filled for timely selling. Specifications of foreign merchandise may not always be made as per the domestic consumption, though has been taken care of to a large extent with close monitoring and standard specs. Because of the required lead time, the buyer must predict fashion acceptance, a job that domestic manufacturer usually takes. Now the practice is widespread. So exclusivity to foreign merchandise is not very rare. A store depends on the buyer's ability of handling the hazards like inaccurate assessment of foreign trends, deep commitment, long delivery lead time, etc. The advantages of working with domestic manufacturers are 1. Faster delivery, 2. Proven specification of merchandise, relationship with manufacturer which results in certain other advantages, availability of merchandise in selected quantities, availability of faster reorders, responsibility of merchandise received, ability to test the selling rate, opportunity to weigh the line, the importance to the total market. Planning and control of stock is comparatively easy. It permits stock adjustments to new trends. Whatever the values, stores recognize the present need for both types of resources, with heavier concentration on the domestic market for the reasons cited. The markets in general became global after World War II. Many sources of information are available to learn where resources are located, what they manufacture and their level of success. This includes resident buying house, competing stores, reporting services, other buyers, market centers, trade advertising, trade directories, observation at events, affairs, etc. Unit control records reveals a complete record of every manufacturer used by a store and includes information on deliveries, selling, customer relations, markups and markdowns. The most important factor a buyer should keep in mind while selection of suppliers are appropriate merchandise for customer group, manufacturer's distribution policies, timing fashion leader or fashion follower depending on the store's target customer group, specifications, retail price maintenance, clearance policies, delivery policies, advertising policies, prices and terms, brand identification. We will now learn about each of these. While selecting appropriate merchandise for customer groups, the quality, styling and price ranges are taken into consideration. Some style distinctiveness must be offered, which is important for customers. The buyer asks, "What do you sell in my area?" 3 general distribution policies followed by a manufacturer are: a franchisee applies to limited number of stores, sometimes on an exclusive basis, trading area, time or part of line. This involves a controlled number of stores within a trading area based on population and potential volume availability. In open, anyone with good credit rating can buy. Design name manufacturers sell to retailers who have high income bracket customers and are part of early acceptance group. Their styles show fashion leadership. Medium priced vendors follow the leaders. Popular or budget priced vendors follow the majority accepted styles. Also, reorder policy of vendor. Specifications include characteristics of fit, quality and style represent know-how. The garment should fit well, but popular priced buyers should take care of checking fits from time to time, as budget manufacturers tend to make garments in less than ample proportions in order to save material costs. Retail price maintenance is directly related to selling rate of goods. A poor selling style will be marked down. When the markdown takes place depends on the policy of the store, amount of the merchandise stocked and time of the year. Many retailers do not use a resource whose goods are found in discount store, but sometimes they make exceptions for foreign resources who supply a wide assortment of goods to anyone with money. Now we move on to clearance policies. No merchant at manufacturing or retail levels can sell all the goods handled. Some will be left over. Retailers use store promotional events or EOSS, end of season sale, to dispose this extra stock. A manufacturer sells to stores or wholesalers as per his distribution policy. Quantity and nature of goods. Two situations that are important for a buyer are when the original orders are delivered and in what quantity. Time for reordering. A manufacturer knows that the stock preparation for reorders without early retail success is hazardous. Stores dislike broken shipments of colors and sizes, as this may lead to customer dissatisfaction. Overstocking brands limits money available for market development of unbranded merchandise. Resources can be classified in a number of ways, such as key or preferred resources, stock resources, item resources, classification resources, secondary resources, shopping resources and trouble resources. Key or preferred resources are the most profitable money makers. Stock resources have a good success and stocked on fairly regular basis, but level is lower than key. Item resources are used for specific styles, events based on fashion and promotional needs. For example, a firm may be famous for blue jeans, but offer complete sportswear lines. A buyer may buy one item but jeans and bypass all other items. Classification resources are specialists in given classification, such as bathing suits, pants and leather jackets. Secondary resources are used on sporadic basis when the styles suitable for keeping in stock. Shopping resources are good resources, but with whom there is no reason to do current business. They are in the potential and manufacturer hopes they will get a chance to supply someone in future. Trouble resources have been omitted from the shopping list as they have had quality issues, defects in merchandise, lack of timely delivery. Benefits that may be derived from a close relationship between a store and a resource are by limiting the number of resources, the buyer can establish a good relation with existing ones. Markdown money for styles that are sold poorly. Return of poor selling styles. Manufacturers' fashion shows in store, trunk showings. Interior displays, racks, blow-up ads. Specification merchandise made exclusively for store. Problems that can arise due to overconfidence in limited resources could be merchandise may not be delivered as ordered for styles, colors and quantities. The manufacturer, certain of arrangements may look for new markets to conquer and flirt with competition. A buyer may become lethargic and make little attempt to cultivate new resources. New trends may escape attention because of lack of market exposure. A working relationship formed to achieve a mutually beneficial goal between the retailer and the vendor. Causes of conflict between retailer and vendors are cancellation of merchandise by the retailer, substitution of merchandise by the vendor, merchandise returns and adjustments, delivery and transportation, exclusivity, special orders, reorders and minimum orders, discounts and allowances, unreasonable conduct and dishonesty. Here are some techniques of successful vendor negotiation. Act collectively, not competitively. Prepare and gather as much information as possible about the parties. Know what you want. Don't let your ego get the way. Learn to make time your ally. If you can't agree on the point 1, go to point 2. Be a creative risk taker. Close the negotiation at the right time. Develop long-term relationships. Some matters that are frequently negotiated. Obtaining specific merchandise for promotions or other specific needs. Extra markup or markdown money to help with profitability. Transportation and delivery charges to reduce costs. Cooperative advertising for media costs or in-store promotions. Terms of sale. Conditions in purchase agreement between retailer and vendor that include discounts, delivery and transportation costs. Dating. A predetermined amount of time during which discounts can be taken and the invoice is to be paid. You have come to the end of this unit. To summarize, in this unit, we have learned about the various responsibilities of buying and the importance of vendor development. Thank you.